Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Wolves Report. I'm Ryan Lester, and thank you for joining us for episode 138. As you can see, I'm currently by myself. Nocky's in a bit of a whirlwind. I don't know what's happening, so we'll start off with just me. I am sorry about that. Hopefully, we'll get our tech sorted soon. But again, this is the beauty of going live with any show. If you have any technical mishaps, you are done. So, Nocky's gone. Hopefully, he'll come back. First of all, then, I want to wait for Nocky to go through the game. So what I'm probably going to do is start off with going through some of the questions in reverse order. So hopefully we'll get Nocky on shortly, and that'll liven things up. But yeah, look at that. That's what's happening. I don't know what is going on there. I can see plenty of you guys in the comments and plenty of you watching. So I don't know if it's an issue from Nocky's side of things. But you know what? I'll try. If it's not going to work, it'll be a short show. We'll have to reschedule. So, yeah, I can see Nocky's muted. He's there. Don't really know what's going on. But again, this is the beauty of doing live podcasts. Let's go straight into some questions. I'm going to try and see if Nocky can try and sort his Wi-Fi out, log in, log out, Nocky. I don't know if you can see me at all or what's going on. But anyway, let's jump in with a few questions early doors. Bobby Smith asks, should we ignore the league position and concentrate on the cup? Now, this was one of the stinky questions I was going to have later in the show with Nocky. And we joked about this earlier on. Well, what would happen if we got relegated? Would you take the League Cup? Would you take that scenario? So very much tongue-in-cheek. But yeah, I mean, what will the team be tomorrow, Bobby? I don't really know. We're absolutely desperate for a win. The best bit of the season so far was against West Ham, wasn't it? So, yeah, will he, won't he? I don't know. But as you can see, Nocky can't answer that so far. But Bobby, thanks for that first question. Let's go straight into the game on Saturday, so I can talk about that and see what's going on. So, I'm going to add that to the stage there. So, it finished Wolves 1, Leeds United 3. Yeah, I mean, it's a painful afternoon at Molineux, to say the least. I thought the goal was fantastic, but fantastically worked from Wolves, some one-touch football, some real nice interplay. But after that, I felt Wolves really just sat off, and yeah, that was the end of that really from there. And then invited them on, and the quick 3-fire goals was pretty much the end of Wolverhampton Wanderers, and the response wasn't particularly great either. So how did Wolves play? Yeah, it was pretty poor. But what was damning for me is just the reaction at half time. I don't know what the manager was thinking. It clearly didn't work. It was just back to like route one ball. It was just such a poor reaction for me at half time. But talking through the first half itself, as I mentioned, the goal was really good, well taken, nice one-touch interplay. As you go, you can go through the stats there. That, I mean, were Leeds better than Wolves on the day? Well, Wolves made it really easy for Leeds, didn't they? So that was the main issue there. Let's try and get Nocky on again now, but I could just see, no, we've got a whirlwind for Nocky. I don't know what's going on there. So what I may do is I may cut the show short, because it's not going to be fun with just me talking about the stats in the game, and we'll try and reconvene. I mean, if you want me to go on for a bit longer, I can see in the comments, let me know if you want me to carry on. I will. Don't know what's happened to Nocky. I don't know if Nocky's like stuck on a roundabout or something. I really don't know. It looks like he's uploading. Maybe he's downloading. I don't know what he's doing, but he just seems to be stuck on that screen. But yeah, the stats would suggest that they're probably, I think the stats here, other than the score, are being kind on Wolves. 1.62 XG to 0.49 would suggest that Leeds were probably fortunate to get 3. I mean, it was a brilliant free kick, but just going through that, the equalising goal, what was that goal all about? Jose Sarr came, stopped. I think if Jose Sarr commits to make the punch, they don't score. If he stays on his line, it's a pretty simple catch. But yeah, I don't know what happened with that. Nocky's going to try again. Hang on a second. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mark Knock. No, you can't even hear me now. Can you hear me, son? We've got his face for a second. Look, I had no idea what's going on. The beauty of live podcasting, incredible. I don't know if he's frozen, but for a second. Here we go.
Can you hear me now?
We got you.
Shambles,
mate, I'm going to put you on the big screen now. You owe everyone a big apology, son. Ladies and gentlemen,
don't do that. The chins are showing, son. Get it back.
Mate, he never shows up early, and this is why he has to show.
No, what happened? Jeff Shee gave me a ring and said he wanted to play with the electronics, and he's done it on the cheap, so it's all gone wrong. So apologies.
Knocky. Anyway, hello, I'm Ryan Lester, and thank you for joining us for episode 138 of the Wolves Report. I am joined by my club captain, better late than never. Timekeeping like Wolves transfer window, Knocky is back. And thank goodness for that. He's also turned into Knocky 1992. So I don't know when you've been born, son, but you've lost 10. You've lost 10 years.
I was panic pressing. It's all gone wrong.
Just panic pressing. Right, son. I answered one question. I was on air. It's not the same without you, but here we are now. We can talk about the game. Let's get rid of that. We'll try and do things back in order. Thank you for the patience to the 400 live viewers so far. Knocky, anything to apologise to anyone about for messing me around and making me look a bigger tit than I already do?
No, not really.
Jeff Shee philosophy, mate. Don't apologise for anything. Knocky, your take on Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Leeds United 3.
I was hoping if I came on late, I wouldn't have to talk about it. He was really, really, really disappointing. I think we all went there with a little bit of hope, although it's one of the first times I can remember waking up in the morning of a game and not really wanting to go, and sort of going out of pure habit and blind loyalty, I suppose. But they started well. They looked quite good on the ball. They looked quite efficient. And then we scored an absolutely fabulous goal. I thought the football, the way that we moved the ball through midfield, the through ball from Fer Lopez, I thought was top class. And obviously the finish was brilliant. He just waited for the keeper to drop and just lobbed it over the top of him. I thought it was a really, really good goal. And then I couldn't understand why we went so deep. We just seemed to defend our own penalty area. Midfielders dropped back. We couldn't get the ball out. They had plenty of possession. I know you disagree, but I think they were far superior to us. I thought they were very, very good. I think in the first half, they controlled possession. They controlled the chances. They were ruthless on back of our mistakes, but that's part and parcel of the course with Wolves at the moment. But I thought they were absolutely ruthless. But I thought the way they played, they looked like a Premier League side, and we looked like a Championship side going there in the Cup. The stats would have favoured them first half. Second half, I thought they were very professional. They asked us if we could break them down, and we couldn't. And arguably the best chance of the second half was to them when the ball got flashed across the face of goal and no one was there. So I was really disappointed. There was some horrendous individual errors yet again. The manager got it wrong again. I don't understand for the life of me where we went from a 3-man midfield where we were able to press at Newcastle and it worked, and then we dropped to a 2, one of them not actually being a midfielder. Couldn't get my head around that decision at all. It didn't allow us to get the wing backs up. It didn't allow us to keep possession, and it just kept coming back at us all the time. So really, really disappointing performance. And I thought we were well beaten, and I thought we deserved to lose the game. And it's 5 games in, but it already feels very, very ominous for us now because the lack of quality is so evident at the moment.
Yeah, I speaking to Mike Taylor earlier on, and I was just saying to him that the lack of plan, identity. What's the typical Wolves play? What's a typical Wolves move? What are we trying to achieve? What's the setup? And what I would say is we did get a couple of flashes in the first half. One led to a goal. One was a nice bit of football that sort of flew wide from a deflection. But other than that, there was nothing. But to totally abandon that, I mean, what needed to change at half time was the defence. Not for me, not the rest of the team. I didn't think so. Rodrigo didn't deserve to come off for me. Enthusiasm, driving forward. Fer Lopez, beautifully caressed touch for the set at the goal. So you're 3-1 down and you're taking off two of your creative players. One relentless runner that makes things happen with the energy, and one attacking footballer that can open the door. And we bin them both off. And so any of the good bits that we did in the first half, we totally eliminated it. I just went for blunt force trauma in the second half, and I just don't understand the changes at all.
I think he panicked. I think he was trying to stop the flow, wasn't he? He was trying to stop the bleed because they are players. I thought Arneson in particular, I really liked the look of him. He was very good on the ball, very controlled in possession. They had the Brazilian kid who scored the third goal. They had good footballers on the pitch, and I don't think we could really get to grips with them. So I think he was trying to put runners and battlers on to kind of batten down the hatches a little bit. It just didn't work. I mean, he made so many errors again, and I'm not going to scream from the rafters that he needs to go. But he made so many basic errors. I mean, Agbadu, again, I don't claim to be a football genius, but I called it after the City game. He's got to come out that team because he was awful pre-season as well. And he took off both the other two centre-halves and he left him on the pitch. And the kid's absolutely devoid of any confidence. He panics every time he's on the ball. He's terrified of his own shadow. And we just keep throwing him to the lions. And he just basic errors. For the life of me, I don't understand why you went with a two-man midfield. That makes absolutely no sense. But the substitutions were wrong and they were at the wrong times. I don't understand for a second why he took Rodrigo off, because that was the pace that we had. That was the energy. And that would be the plan, is to use your wing-backs efficiently. So it was just it was just riddled with errors again, wasn't it? I mean, the whole performance was riddled with errors. The coaching was errors. It was just poor all over the pitch. And it's just exposed exactly where we are, I think.
Yeah, it's a painful one to take. I mean, on the second part of the show, I want to look a little bit deeper, and it's time to talk more about Jeff Shea and Fosun. But on Saturday, and it's the first time I've sort of put my hands up and said this, because I've not really wanted to criticise, but for me on Saturday, the manager has to take full responsibility for that one. Now, do you know what? That doesn't, just because I'm criticising doesn't mean I still don't rate him or I don't appreciate what he did. And I know eyebrows have been raised with the timing of the contract, but it has to be called out that tactically it was wrong. I think the starting 11 was wrong. Now, if you've got a two-man midfield, the one person that protects is Andre. Now, I like Andre a lot, but I think, like with a lot of players, he suffered with the lack of talent around him this season, losing Nelson Semedo, losing Ait Nouri, losing Cunha, losing Sarabia, all those out passes that you can pass to any time. So half the quality that you could have passed to, gone. Well, all our most technically gifted footballers, gone. And I think he suffered for that because the ball keeps coming back. So for me, I'm all right with it. I know Tyler's talked about one of them, you need them two to be creative, but I think if you're playing a two, it has to be those two. And then you play the two number 10s attacking. I don't see how you can play. Yes, he's played, he scored the goal and he was decent at Newcastle, but I don't see how you can play a centre-back in centre midfielder over somebody that always protects your three centre-backs. We lost that on Saturday, and there was that little gap in between, for it was easy for Leeds to take that space. So for me, it's a massive mistake dropping Andre in a two.
I completely agree. He has to play, doesn't he? We're lacking quality in that team, and he's one that brings you something a little bit different. I'm not sure what Vitor's trying to achieve at the moment, because when he actually came in, that Leicester game was the first game that he came in and we won 3-0. He made us hard to beat. His essence was to build us to be relatively solid in midfield, make us strong defensively, and then pretty ruthless up front. But he seems to have gone away from that now. He seems to be trying to try and bring a new shape and a new system to what we're doing. And we're not good enough to do that, especially with the players we've lost. But if you're going to have someone like Tolu up front, who's not mobile at all, but should be good in the air, although he was pretty desperate on Saturday, you've got to get balls into the box. You've got to give him that supply line rather than have him picking up balls on the edge of his own area or picking up balls on the halfway line, which is not going to affect anything. You want your wing backs pushed up, and you can do that with a three-man midfield because you've got that cover in behind, and it allows you to drop one into a defensive position or pull out wide to cover a wing back. It gives you a little bit of movement to play with. So as soon as you go to a two, and Krejci he looks a very good player to me, but he was pretty anonymous, if we're being honest. Other than the goal, he didn't really impact the game because it's not his natural position. If he plays in midfield, he has to play in a three because he doesn't look like the sort of player who's going to be able to impact a game in a two. But in a three, I think he'd be very effective. But for me, that needs to be against some of the better teams. I'd like to see him playing at centre half. And then if you need him pushed up a little bit later in the game, you can do that if you want to.
Move to back four then, can't you?
You move to back four, yeah. But I don't know what he's trying to do at the moment. And you mentioned it earlier about the identity. You knew what Leeds were doing. You knew what the game plan was. You knew how they wanted to play. There was a clear identity. We looked like 11 players who'd never played together, who'd just been thrown on the pitch and said, just stand where you fancy and have a little bit of a go at it. Because there was no shape. There was no system. There was no clear method of play. There was no identity to what we were doing. And we got pulled apart as a result of it. And I know the stats will favour us a little bit as we look at the second half, but I thought that was purely because of how Leeds managed the game and how comfortable they were. And let's be totally honest, Wolves never laid a glove on them in that second half. And you're 3-1 down, you want there to be a little bit of energy, a little bit of high impact, a little bit of something different. We didn't do that. I think Menezes had a shot that was pretty basic for the keeper. It was straight down his throat. Other than that, in a game when you're 3-1 down, I don't think we at any point put them under any pressure. So just really poor from top to bottom.
Yeah, the second half to me, Nocky, looked like 11 players, not one of them believing in the changes that they've been instructed to do at half time. There wasn't any belief, there wasn't any drive. Now, watching Leeds in the first half or watch Sunderland on Sunday afternoon, like the desire to get to the ball, the snap, the press, not always quality, but the hunger. I want to be in this division. I want to stay here. Wolves look a little bit casual. Now, whether the casualness is everyone's, I'm not saying they've given up, but the belief, it just looked to me like it screamed of nobody believed in actually what they were being told, because it was pretty much keep the ball, get it to Hugo, whack it in, see what happens. Now, granted, there was a couple of knockdowns. I think there was one nice knockdown to Menezes. You struck it well, but it was straight at the keeper. I think there's one headed over the bar, but it wasn't really sustained. It wasn't the vision that we did against West Ham, 2-1 down, two big men, number 10. There wasn't that sort of press, and everyone knew it was coming. You knew the equaliser was coming, and you knew the winning goal was coming. There was no feel of that. I think Wolves, as a result of the changes at half-time, I think pretty much Molineux knew we would beat, although we're still back in our team. Molineux knew we would beat, and I think the players did as well. And as a result of that, if you're a championship team and you're coming up and the Premier League side just wants to wang the ball in the air to you after your centre-backs have just been heading it all season, well, it was just an easy second half for Leeds. They didn't have to do anything at all.
I think you've got to take the human factor into it, because they're young men, aren't they? And they're going to be believing now they're not good enough. And they're in quicksand at the minute, because everything they do is just going wrong. Every mistake's being punished. And I don't think they're believing themselves. I've seen some people say there was a lack of effort. I don't agree with that at all. I think there was a lack of belief. And I do feel they almost gave up because they don't think they're good enough. And I think you lose 5 games in a row and add that to the 4 that you haven't won at the back end of last season. You haven't won a game in pre-season. It's got to play on your mind, whoever your opposition is. And I think at 1-0, that was probably the most disappointing thing. At 1-0, I expected a bit of growth from the team. Especially, he's had a week to work with them, hasn't he? So you're thinking they've come out, they've done something a bit different, they've got themselves a goal. Now let's start playing. Now let's see us attack them for the wide positions. Now let's see them dominate possession in midfield. Let's see us get Tolo into the game. Let's see them wing backs pushing really high on Leeds, and let's get at them while they're vulnerable. But it was almost like we scored and completely hit the panic button and just thought, we've got a goal here, we've got to sit back and try and defend this. And best one in the world, you cannot invite on any team in this division, because every team has got quality that can hurt us. And I just didn't understand why we sat so deep. Whether that's a tactic from Vitor or that he wanted to sit and try and break, I don't understand it. You're at home against a promoted team who I think come down with us. I don't think they're good enough to stay in this league. But you're handing them the impetus, you're giving them the ball. I mean, there was a spell in the first half, and it was about 4 or 5 minutes that Leeds had the ball and we couldn't get it off them, and they just keep recycling it. They weren't going anywhere, but they were recycling it across the midfield. They were going back, they were bringing it back into midfield, and then when we got bored and advanced, they played through us and nearly crossed one across the face of goal and a tap-in. So it was just really, it was a really strange tactical performance from Vitor. And I'm with you, I think you can criticise a manager but still be back in the team. You know, he's not perfect, he's going to make mistakes, we know that. But he takes a huge, huge chunk of that.
This is an interesting point from Amanda. Amanda, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report. Distinct lack of chemistry amongst those lads as it stands. Yeah, I absolutely agree. There isn't any spark. I mean, we saw probably 1.5 sparks. There was one for the goal, and the second bit of spark was for that a move late at the end of the first. So I think not long after that was a nice bit of football. But that's it. There is no real. There's no real. Just nothing, is it? It's flat. It's really, really flat, and that's the concern for me. But
Amanda's bang on there. She's bang on, because the lack of chemistry, and it's not just the lack of chemistry, it's the lack of quality. When you look last season, when we were in trouble, you had Cunha, you had Ain't Nora, you could bring Sarabia on. You had people who could turn a game around. We don't have any of that. I mean, you'd say probably our most creative player should be Arias, but we've seen absolutely nothing from him. So we've got a team of runners. We've got Meneses, we've got Bellegardes, we've got players like that. But in terms of players who can go and win you a football match, you've got a half-fit Strand Larsen who was made no impact at all and looked so far from being fit when he came on. There's nothing else in that team to win you a game. It's just a game. It's a team that should be organised, and they're not. And there's just no one to take us up the pitch, and that's the biggest issue we've got at the minute. And that was the problem with Leeds. It just kept coming back, and we had no one to skip that out ball, so we just ended up wanging it 50 yards downfield to absolutely no one, and then it's coming back at you all the time. So, yeah, it's lack of chemistry, lack of quality, and just a lack of match winners.
Yeah, absolutely. Amanda, thank you for being part of this latest Wolves report. Just talk about the goals roughly then, Nocky. Our goal deserves a mention. It's nice to have one positive to talk about on the show. Some real nice interplay, little touch. Fer Lopez with a beautifully caressed ball, and then Krejci with a nice. He timed it. He just let the ball bounce and then clipped it over the keeper. That's a nice goal. To stretch and reach for a tiny bit of hope. That's what some of those players are capable of. So we know there's footballers there. If only they'd have tried to carry on playing that way and do some more. But for me, that's the highlight. But let's talk about the problems there, Nocky. That first goal that I mentioned, when you looked like you were stuck in another galaxy when you were spinning around and I don't know what was going on. But for me, this is all on Jose Sarr. I blame Jose Sarr because I'd say 80% Jose Sarr, and I'm going to drop 20% into to Bellegarde as well for not closing the cross down. But he's been given the freedom of Molyneux to cross. Jose Sarr comes and then he stops. We all know as a goalkeeper, you commit. You're either going through and getting the ball in a punch, or you're staying on your line. It's one of the two. You got caught in no man's land. The cross wasn't closed down. 1-1.
I think you're being generous with the blame. I think there's a lot of blame to be shared around. We don't stop. I mean, he's an absolute carbon copy of the Newcastle goal, isn't it? Almost from exact same crossing position and the same position where he's headed it from. It's almost identical. We don't get out and shut the cross. We're not learning from our mistakes. We let him pick up where he wants to put it. Yes, I agree. Jose Sarr gets caught in no man's land. He either comes or he doesn't come. If he stays on his line, it's probably a catch for him. But as soon as he comes out, you've got to take the ball. You've got to take the man. You've got to get there. But also Mosquera as well. I think very similar to Agbadou, he completely loses the flight of the ball and he's got enough time to adjust and to get there. And Calvert-Lewin's a good, wily old striker, isn't he? He's been around the block. But he doesn't really have to do anything. He doesn't have to nudge Mosquera out of the way.
It's not a great header. And this is why
no.
It's a fair point with the centre-back. But if the keeper stays on his line, he just catches that. It's a simple catch. It was such a wet header. But again, we've just given away such a soft goal. Yeah, it's granted the centre-back got to do better. Keeper caught in no man's land, absolute stinker. I mean, I think Tyler put on the group chat about Jose Sarr's sort of Benny Hill sketch. Crikey, sometimes you forget some of the stinkers he's had. But
why did he get brought back in the team? He's a genuine question.
Right. I mean, we've criticised Johnson a lot. He did all right in Newcastle. He made a couple of really good saves. And I don't think he was at fault with really anything. So, I mean, if I'm watching that performance, I mean, I don't know what the stats were, how many shots he's faced on target and how many we've conceded this year. It's incredible numbers. I don't have that number up, but I remember reading it and thinking
it's something like 12 out of 16, isn't it? Or something like that. He's got like a 25% saving or 35% saving.
Moving on to the goal that sent Leeds 2-1 up. A few people are saying it's never a foul, but I always say don't give someone the opportunity to go down there because they always will. If you give a professional footballer an opportunity to drop down there, they did. And again, I know we're sort of not on the same page with this. It is the keeper's right side, but equally, I'm not going to discredit that strike when he's literally found the cat flap in the top corner.
Oh, is it in the top corner though? I don't think it's postage stamp. I mean, if you break it down, for me, the foul, it is a foul. I want that if I'm a Wolves player. I mean, in 2025, that's a foul.
If my screen's there, mate, that's the goal. Oh, it's that side, isn't it? The ball, mate, is pretty much, it's there, isn't it? It's pretty much in.
I think you should save it, but I'll get on to that.
To the Wolves report, how about that then? I think doing kick-ups when you didn't turn up.
I think it is a foul, but I think you can look a bit deeper than that. The centre halves are retreating back into the penalty area. No one goes out to engage. and we leave. I think it was Lopez who brought him down. We leave Lopez on his own really to try and intercept it. I don't think we did our jobs properly in midfield or in defence. The free kick itself, he lines his wall up and then he stands behind the wall. And yes, it's a good strike. For me, I don't think it's direct in the top corner. And to be honest, if he does that, he probably tips it over because it's not.
Do you know what?
He's right next to it.
Do you remember when Neves scored against Pickford for the opening game in the Premier League for us? I think the 2-2 game, Raul scored and Neves scored the free kick. It wasn't. I mean, I think the free kick was better than Neves then. But the way the keeper just sort of stepped away, he had that sort of vibe because he wasn't expecting it. I mean, I think I'm not going to discredit that goal. I think it's a great goal. So
I think it's a good hit, but I think he sets the wall up wrong, and I think he leaves too much space. For me, his position's all wrong, and it goes a foot away from where he's standing. So, it's splitting hairs, isn't it? It's gone in the back of the net regardless. I think he should do better with the setup, and I think he should do better with the save as well. But the kid has hit it well. But I don't think that's a postage stamp. I think that's going in a foot away from the corner. So for me, I think a goalkeeper in the Premier League should save that.
Not like you to describe 12 inches wrong, Knocky. But anyway, this is episode 138 of the Wolves Report with Mark Knock and myself, Ryan Lester. Let's just go back to that goal briefly. I'm going to say one word, and that goal doesn't happen. Andre. If he's in the team, they don't get that free kick there.
He's given a few away this season, though, and let's be honest, he's given about 3 goals away so far.
I just think it's madness dropping in a back three that are all flapping left, right, and centre, and you take out your best holding midfielder and you make it less energetic with Krejci. On the ball, Krejci's fantastic, but I think we missed him badly. Moving on to our weekly Agbadou stinker. Now, I'm going to say this, and I know people are going to shoot me down. I don't think he was playing that bad until that mistake. I really don't. In his numbers, the amount of positive passes he was trying at the far end of the pitch, he was involved in Wolves' opening goal, the only goal of the game. He was involved with that, and I think he's in the team for those passes. And he shouldn't be doing it. Every single mistake he makes now is leading to a goal. It's a desperate run of luck. Should he be taken out of the team? There's certainly a shape for that. I do have some sympathy, and what I'll cling to is during those 10 games last year when he was flying, he looked like one of the best centre-backs I've ever seen. But something's happened somewhere, and he's just not the same guy. And, I mean, again, it's a great finish across there. Should the keeper do better with his hand to it? I still think I'm not expecting the player to score from there. But, again, Agbadou's punished for a ridiculous mistake.
Yeah, I get what he's saying, but his bread and butter's to keep the ball out the back of the net, isn't it? And he's given a goal away every single game this season. The fact that he hasn't been dropped yet, and yes, he can hit raking passes and he can hit through balls, but there's no point doing that if you're throwing one in your own net every week. So for me, I think he's been an absolute disaster this season. And at 2-1, you're still in the game, aren't you? You're still alive. You can push on.
Collapsed.
You can push on towards the end, and as soon as they hit the third, then it's curtains. So I thought he was a disaster. I don't know why he's played that ball. It's a ball he seems to play all the time, and he gets caught out all the time with it.
It is that same pass, isn't it? It's almost like he's under-hitting it there.
It's lazy. But I think what it is, I don't think he's lazy. I think his confidence is shot, and he doesn't believe he can play that pass. So he tries to play it, and he undercooks it, or he doesn't hit it quite right. His confidence is absolutely shot. For me, you take him out of the team, you let him rebuild, you go again, you give him 20, 30 minutes here and there, and you slowly build him back up. Because at the minute, he's gone. He's totally gone. His head's gone. But I think the shot itself, I do think Jose Sarr maybe should save it. I'm a little bit less than I was with a free kick because it is a decent drive across, but he's a little bit of a distance, and it's a bit of a daisy cutter. I think he should do better with it. But he should never have got far because it was a very, very simple ball from Agbadou under absolutely no pressure. So, yes, I think Sarr should save it, but that one's on Agbadou completely for me.
Yeah, I mean, it did kind of go through him a bit. I'm looking at it back, but Agbadou's got his hands up for that, and yeah, I like Agbadou, but I don't know what's happening, mate. I don't know.
You can't keep doing it though, can you? You can't keep throwing goals in your own net and giving yourself a mountain to climb every week. It's just not. And I don't think Matt Doherty should be anywhere near our team, but he doesn't make the mistakes that Agbadou's made this season. He maybe doesn't put the through balls in. He maybe doesn't get us up the pitch. But sometimes you've got to do something a little bit differently, even if it's going back to a 4 at the back and then playing your 2 midfielders a little bit deeper. just trying something a bit different, because we can't keep playing the same back three. Because I think Mascara's been a disaster, and I'm probably going to be in the minority, but I think he's been dreadful. I think Santi Bueno's been good. I think Doherty's been pretty good. Totti, I think he's a bit of a liability, but out of the three, he's the one you're probably keeping at the moment. But for me, you've got an opportunity to put Krejci back into that sort of sweeper role, and then have two around him, Bueno and maybe Totti, and just take the others out the firing line for a little bit. But I don't see him doing it. But I know we'll come on to the team a bit later.
The ideal opportunity in the Cup tomorrow night. We are recording live on Monday ahead of Tuesday's Cup game. Nocky's going with going with your dad and your lad.
Yeah, my son's got to sit through. If I have to sit through that, so does he.
How loud do you think you'll have to shout to speak to the person next to you?
I know. It's going to be. I mean, there'll be probably 15,000 there. I would have thought. I don't think there'll be a particularly big gate.
I don't know if you saw the picture of the they saw it in the group chat earlier on the picture. I thought that was Wolves' heat map for the second half.
There's no one on the pitch.
There's no point talking about the second half. We talked about the goals. Lots of puff and puff, not a real lot of quality. Some very prehistoric Tony Pulis ball in the second half. There is a place for that, but if you need to play a number 10 that can do something with the football, God bless Manetzi, he's not going to be opening teams up. So it has to be, for me, Fer Lopez, Arias in the 10, someone that can sort of bring people into the game and maybe score a goal themselves. Manetzi's not going to do that, and I think the manager got it badly wrong. Let's go on to the team to give ourselves a bit more misery. Wolves in a 3-4-2-1. Jose Sarnoki, quick recap and a score mark out of 10, please.
Certainly at fault for the first goal. I think he's at fault for the second. I think he could do better with the third as well. I thought he was dreadful. Johnson shouldn't have been dropped for me. So I'm going to give him a 0 out of 10. Because I think he takes a huge chunk of the brown sandwich at the minute, because he's the one who's heavily involved in those mistakes.
Oh, Nocky, you were worth waiting for. I was thinking I'll do 10 minutes by myself and then I'll pack it all in. And here you are now, dropping brown sandwiches out. Let's move on to the three centre backs. I'll start with Agbadu. I mean, the manager should have protected me. He should come out the side. But it's interesting, again, he's the only centre back that didn't get subbed. And I think at the moment, Nocky, he's been punished for every mistake. And I've got to say, in terms of the back three, I thought he was comfortably the best footballer on the day. Defensive-wise, he was an absolute mess. But that first half, down the right-hand side, strength-wise, on the ball, I actually think he did okay. I just think now he's got himself into a rut, and all we can think about is the mistakes. Should he be in the team with those mistakes? No, he shouldn't. But let's not forget the rest of the game. It wasn't a complete, absolute disaster. I thought it was all right first half.
So just to recap then, you think his actual job he was terrible at, but when he played on the right wing, he was all right?
Yeah, basically.
I thought he was crap. He put a couple of decent through balls in, but your bread and butter is to defend your area.
I'm trying to be balanced, because I know he's getting hammered, but we should really be looking at the manager if he keeps picking him. You know what I mean? Because the guy's having a terrible time. Every mistake's been punished, but it wasn't all terrible. It was one stinker, but he wasn't like whacking the ball out of play and not doing anything at all.
Give him a score then.
You can have 4 because you did 4 passes.
He gets a 0 from me, so that's 2 zeros so far. Give the third goal away that killed the game, so that's a 0. You're too nice, you are.
Thank you. Yerson Mascara. Now, what I don't understand here, Nocky, just tactically, why isn't Yerson on the right-hand side? Because he's played as a fullback in Spain, so we know he can take the space there. And of all the three, I mean, it's hard to talk about Agbadu's passing, but he's the one. He's the one looking at those three. He's probably the one you want in the middle. So that's a bit of a strange one, having Yerson in the middle for me.
Liability. His tackling's awful. He looks like he's a walking red card. Didn't track the header very well. 1 out of 10. You've just shipped 3 to a championship team. I don't think you can give your defenders anything above a 2.
On to Toti Gomez. I'm not saying anything.
Toti Gomez, probably the best of the three, but it was a very low bar. A couple of erratic moments, but he wasn't too bad. He can have a 3.
I mean, when we're grading our defenders and we're looking at one just because you didn't give a goal away as your bonus, it's absolutely terrible.
That's what we've been reduced to.
Moving on to the wing backs, I'll start with Rodrigo. Rodrigo, for me, a pace setter, an example, a leader, a presser. He plays by example, enthusiasm, wants to press. He's running all over the place. He's trying to get down the line. So when you're losing, surely you don't take him off. I thought Rodrigo had a good half, to be honest. I thought he was all right.
Why did he take him off? What was the thought process around taking him off?
I'll tell you what it is, because he wanted to get it wide to Bueno, who is probably our best crosser of the ball. I mean, it's not exactly an achievement with those wing backs, but he's probably our best crosser of the ball out of them. And I think that was the thinking, just to lump it in there. It's like, what's Manetzi 6'1", Strand Larson 6'4", and Tolu 6'6". Get in the mixer, kid. And I genuinely, mate, think that the tactics were as basic as that. That's what I did, because it can't be any other reason, because I thought Rodrigo was one of the players, him and Fer Lopez were the two I thought, you're doing actually all right.
Yeah, I didn't get the logic of taking him off. I think what you get with him is real energy, and you get someone who'll overlap. You know, if he's got Bellegarde ahead of him, he'll overlap him and he'll try and get into space and he'll play off his shoulder and he'll drag players out of position. So I don't understand why you make that move. If you're going to do that, maybe put him over on the right and take Jackson off, who's useless, and then put Bueno on the other side, and you've maybe got a little bit more stability where you can invert him if you need to. I didn't get the logic of taking him off. I thought that he looked a little bit of a threat. It's hard to score him because he's played in a team that was, got pumped 3-1 in that half, but I didn't think he was the worst player out there. I think there was a lot of players who could have got hooked above him, even though he wasn't hugely effective in the game.
Moving on to Jackson Chatchwar.
Rubbish. I think he's a sprinter. I don't think he's a footballer. He's really quick, but he doesn't look like he can control the ball. He forgets to take the ball with him half the time. He doesn't seem to use his pace in the right way. You don't see him take players on. He's cutting back a lot.
I want to see him taking people on. Now, I think he's all right, but for someone whose main asset is being this season's quickest player in the Premier League, I want you to stand defenders up and go and get your crossing. That's your older Traore, all right. And when you're losing 3-1, surely that's what we want you to do. Stop the defender, push, go, cross. Didn't see enough of it for me. Probably 4 out of 10.
You want to see him drive, don't you? You want to see him get his head down, and you want to see him knock the ball past the defender and just run past them and try and get into space. But his delivery is appalling. He doesn't seem to know what to do with the ball when he's got it. He's just very sort of chaotic in what he does. But I think the reality is, we know that he wasn't our first, second, third, fourth, or probably even fifth choice player. So if you're going that far down your list to bring in a player, you're not going to get the kind of quality you need, are you? And I think that's pretty evident.
I mean, we're like that with Tyler, but here we are. Greg, I wish Nocky would sit on the fence. Wouldn't sit on the fence so much. Yeah, I think Nocky's fell out with his IT and he's taking it on the podcast now. We'll pair up Joe Gomez and Krejci. I think Joe struggled without Andre next to him, and I thought Leeds looked like they were 4-3-3, and I just think they had more than us in midfield because they had the bodies.
Yeah, it didn't work, did it? It didn't work with the two of them. I think if we'd have had a third in there, whether it was Andre, we might not have had that much of an attacking threat, but I think we would have been solid and we'd have had more possession, and we probably would have stopped that flow in the first half of the ball keep coming to us. I don't think the two works, and I know that Krejci scored, but Gomez looked absolutely lost. He was just running around trying to hack people. So I don't think that two is an option for us in midfield. I think if you're going to play Krejci in there, you've got to have a 3. I don't think it's been working with Andre and Gomez either, but they're a little bit more solid than those two were. So going forward, I'd like to see a 3, whether it's Krejci or somebody else, but it just didn't work for us.
No, I think if Krejci plays in midfield, because I think he's clearly a very, very cultured footballer, he has to play in the 3 because he's not going to have the ratting ability of Andre or Joe Gomez, which we need in this team to protect our defence that just can't defend. So when you've taken out a defensive specialist. Granted, he's not been great, but he's still a defensive specialist, and you leave the gaps because he's getting forward, you're causing yourselves all kinds of trouble. Moving on to the front three, Nocky, we are 40 minutes in of episode 138 of the Wolves Report. We're a bit slow starting because Nocky just turned it when he felt like it.
I've only been on for 10 minutes and we're 40 minutes in.
Fer Lopez and Jean-Ric Bellegarde.
I thought Lopez put in an absolutely fantastic ball for the goal, but I think he dipped in and out of the game. He was pretty anonymous other than that ball. He needed some more quality around him. I think he was trying to make things happen, but he just didn't have those options, and I think he dipped in and out of the game. Bellegarde, very ineffective, didn't affect the game at all, didn't supply anything to Tolu. Didn't support that midfield area. He was really poor. And I do like Bellegarde, but never in a million years should he be playing in that position. For me, he plays in midfield or he doesn't play at all, because I don't think he hasn't got the pace to play as a wing back or to play on the left or the right in an attacking area. He hasn't got the I don't want to say it in a horrible way, but he hasn't got the brains to play just off an attacker. He can't find the space. But I quite like him in a midfield three. I wouldn't be against him coming in the middle of Gomez and Andre and supporting the midfield to the attack, but he was very, very ineffective in the position he was playing.
Yeah, I agree. I don't dislike Jean-Ric now, but unfortunately, when you're a player like him and you can play multiple positions, you never get a settled space in the squad. I don't think he should have played. Whether that tells you more about Arias and what he's doing in training, I don't know, because the manager has alluded to people won't just be given places, you've got to earn them, which would suggest to me that's calling a few people out indirectly, because there's no way the Arias that was playing in the Club World Cup doesn't start in that position of Jean-Ric. So something is going on somewhere. But in fairness, Arias, we haven't really seen him in his natural position, which is where Fer Lopez plays. So a bit of a mix-up. Last but not least, Nocky, Tolu, who, again, he was involved with the goal. I thought he was all right early on, but I think he faded badly as the game went on.
Yeah, he was involved in the goal. But other than that, I don't think he did a great deal. But then he didn't have any supply line. There was no one feeding him. He was dropping very deep to pick the ball up. I know that there's a conversation around Tolo and Strand Larsen playing together. I just don't see how that will ever work. I think it's one or the other, despite the money we've spent on him. But I'm not going to be too harsh on him because he's just come into the team. But you've got to give him a supply line. I think the most frustrating thing for me is, had you played three in midfield, you could have released your wing backs to get to the byline and swing those balls across. I don't think we put one decent ball in. The first time we got into the wide position, it was Jackson, and he got to a crossing position. He fizzed one straight across the floor, which is a complete waste of time. So for me, I think if you give him the supply line, he should score your goals. He's physical. He's probably more physical than Strand Larsen. But he hasn't got the pace to get in behind. So you're going to have to play to this kid's strength if you want to get the most out of him. And with Bellegarde and Fer Lopez, they're probably not going to do that piece. You've got to support the midfield and release your wing-backs if you want to see this kid play.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think there's a footballer in there somewhere. I mean, I think he'll be okay. But again, you've got to play to his strengths, as you put just then. Talking about the subs, I think there's only one really we can talk about. I actually thought Hugo was quite good when he came on. He was probably, I mean, he wasn't spectacular by no means, but he put in a decent performance. I don't think anyone else had any impact whatsoever, so there's no point talking about them. But I thought Hugo, we talked about it on the group chat again, it was a little bit unfortunate to be dropped. But I guess the inverted, strange position he played at Newcastle didn't suit him as much as Rodrigo, and Rodrigo kept his place on the left, which means you've probably got to drop Bueno then. But I thought Bueno did okay. He was one of the few subs that looked like they could do something.
I like Hugo. I don't think he did a lot to get dropped. I think where he's probably paid a price is because he was playing on his weaker side, whereas Gomez will still put the ball across. He'll still deliver from those crossing positions on his weaker foot. Hugo has to check back every time because he's not comfortable putting them in on that side. And I think that probably cost him his place, because you're sort of stifling the attack a little bit if you're having to drop back in and then feed the ball across. I would like to, and I think Rodrigo is better on the left-hand side, but I think if you've got to get Hugo in the team, because I think he's more effective than Jackson. So I'd like to see Rodrigo come across to the right-hand side, keep Hugo in his more comfortable side on the left, and then allow him to to cross on his natural foot, and I think you'll get better supply lines into Tolu. I get why we're playing Jackson because you've got the pace, but I'm more looking for delivery than pace at the moment because you've got to get that ball right into Tolu. So I'd like to see him maybe switch Rodrigo across, keep Hugo in the team, because I think Hugo's the best option down that side. I think he gives you something that we perhaps haven't got. He's got a little bit of Aït-Nouri about him, hasn't he? He's got a little bit of, he'll do a couple of step overs and try and take someone on. So for me, I think he's a player who should be in the team.
Yeah, we don't have enough people that can take people on this team at the moment. It doesn't
Agreed.
look like anybody can do it. And just one bit on Rodrigo as well. There's obviously a reason for it, but we've never seen Rodrigo properly playing further forward. I mean,
No.
if you are going to make a sub at half time and bring Hugo on, why not put Rodrigo where Jean Rickner is? Add a bit of movement and pace, get a bit closer to Tolu, because Tolu's going to cause problems. And you know Rodrigo will take any space that's in behind. So
he never gets a run though, does he? He never gets 5 or 6 games consecutively. He'll get a game and then he'll play a half.
He'll be dropped.
I don't get it because I think he's limited in what he can do, but he's got a little bit of the Matt Jarvis about him where he'll support the attack, and I think he'll score goals.
He gets in great positions.
He does get in great positions, and he'll play off.
Look at Newcastle, and he scored some goals in the cup. He gets in good positions.
Yeah, he'll play off the player in front of him. So he did it with Cunha last year when we played against Leicester, and he made that run, and he'll cut inside and overlap, and he'll just create that space. And when he pulls into that attacking third, he'll bring a player with him as well. So he'll create that space on the left for one of your 3 midfielders just to drop into and fill in. So I think he's a really good player. And I don't understand why we're not giving him more of a run, because we're desperate for pace. We're desperate for athleticism and someone who can take people on. And, he's not going to do 5 lollipops and skip past you, but he will have that clever movement just to drop himself into a little bit of space. So I really don't understand why he doesn't get a decent run in the side.
This is episode 138 of the Wolves Report with Better Late Than Never, Mark Knock and myself, Ryan Lester. Knocky, we've lost quite a bit of time. We are 47 minutes in. 7 of that was me just waffling on, hoping someone would come and save me. And you did. You kept me waiting and made me appreciate you more. Let's get some questions straight to the stinker. Jimmy B goes, how many games does VP have? Ugh.
He's just signed a new deal, hasn't he? I think he gets till Christmas. I think if we go into December and we're still in a similar position, they'll probably look at it then. I mean, I don't claim to be an expert on contracts. You would assume there's some kind of get out on that, where they won't have to pay him the full amount of the contract. My initial thought was he'd probably get till the next transfer window, but I don't think, even with the erratic decisions that we see from Jeff, I don't think he'll give him a new sparkling deal and then sack him 3 weeks later. So I think he probably gets. Well, there is that, but I think he probably gets till December. He probably gets the boot before the Christmas fixtures, and then you have a new manager coming in, and we'll do our traditional trolley dash in January.
Yeah, I mean, I so want Vitor to turn it around, not just because I love Wolves, because this is eventually going to kill our podcast, but we just can't keep sacking managers every 6 months. We're turning to Watford, and they're stuck in the Championship. We just can't keep behaving like that. But Jimmy makes a great point. There will be a breaking point, and it's very likely we'll lose our next 2 games in the league, and then you're 7 in, and then the pressure really is on him then. And he's going to get. There's the likelihood that we will lose at Spurs, and we will lose at home to Brighton. So he needs now to show why the club backed him. He needs to show what he did when he first came in, because he's actually still in a better position than he was when he came in, because Wolves were further cut adrift than they are now. So he's been here before when Wolves are on nothing and coming in to change things. So we know he can do it, and hopefully he can do it again.
It's not all on him though, is it? I mean, he's made some poor decisions, and his lineups have been strange at times. But you look at the self-inflicted damage we've done in that window. I mean, he's gone from having players he can rely on to new signings who don't even make the squad. And he's such a self-inflicted wound that we're going through. So he's responsible for the decisions he makes. What he's not responsible for is the current state of the squad. So he gets more games for me. The problem you have, I think, is if you do sack him, I've got absolutely no faith in Jeff to get it right. And who's going to come in and take over a club that's going to be adrift? It's just such a juggling act to do, especially when you know you're probably not going to get the backing you need.
Yeah, absolutely. But to answer Jimmy's question, I think All depends. I think, Jimmy, there's a chance that we lose the next 2 games. I can't even remember. We've got after this. It's Sunderland the game after that. Oh,
Yeah, we've got Spurs away, Brighton at home, Sunderland away.
I think
They're a decent side at home as well.
I think if he loses those 3 games, I think this is a different conversation.
8 in a row.
But it all depends. If you've played those 2 games against Spurs and Brighton, and Wolves have improved, and you can see an identity and a plan, and you can see things are starting to come together, it's a different chat. If we're performing like we are Leeds the next 3 games, then that's probably a conversation that we need to have. Jimmy, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report with part-time Mark Knock and myself, Ryan Lester. Patrick, who I saw on Saturday, good to see you, Patrick. Call blimey, where do you go from here? Struggling on the football front, but got to ask, where do you get your hair products from? Well, actually,
I'll take this one.
I use the bedhead conditioner and leave it in. Don't use any products. Knocky, which one do you use?
Mate, you've got a wig on. Don't try and talk about bedhead products. I have used Dome Wax before, and I quite like that. It gives me a lovely shiny feel.
What does it do? Does it give you a glow?
Yeah, it gives you a little bit of a glow, and you can I don't know. It's quite a weird feeling. It's like zoop as you do it. It's just got a lovely feel to it. It makes you feel ever so comfortable. But yeah, other than that, I don't really use shampoo.
I'm grateful for Patrick's question, but this is where we're at. We're actually enjoying talking about hair products, shiny hair and wigs, because our football team is so shit. Patrick, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report. This is a great question coming up. Luke, would you consider giving Krejci the armband, drop him into the back 3 and drop Agba and Totti? Now, I'll start this one off, Nocky, and you can, I'll cross it and you can finish it off. Giving Totti the armband hasn't made him undroppable, but it makes it uncomfortable for the manager. For me, it was we know what Tyler would be saying if he was on there, but I'm yet to see Totti. I mean, best of a bad bunch isn't really an achievement for a team that's just shipping goals left, right, and centre. He's been really, really poor as well. He's dropped off. There isn't that confident guy that was sometimes erratic. We haven't seen that solid defender. He's been sent off once. He's cost us. Yeah, for me, Krejci, it looks like on Saturday he was dishing out a couple of bollockings, pointing, telling people what to do. He's worn the armband before, fresh face in the squad. Fans like him and respect him already. I think that's a really good shape. Whether he drops Totti and Agba, I don't know. But Krejci, for me, coming into the middle of the back 3 and being captain, that's a big yes from me.
I don't think you can do that. I think it sends out a terrible message to the rest of the team. If you're going to take it off Totti, you give it João Gomez.
Was he ever announced as the captain this year? Was he announced that he's your captain for 24-26? Did you just wear the armband?
I'm assuming because he's had the armband every week, so I would assume. So I don't think you can give it Krejci. I think that would cause a massive rift in the squad. If you're going to give it anyone, you give it João Gomez. Krejci has had one, I'd say, a good game. He scored a very good goal, but then wasn't very effective in the rest of it. Not saying he's not a good player by any stretch, because I think he's a really, really good player. But to go from that to giving him the armband, I think sends out all the wrong signals. If you're going to strip Totti, it needs to be because he wants to drop it at this stage. I don't think you just take it off him and you give it João Gomez, because I think you send out all.
What happens though? Are we then keeping Totti in the team because he's got the armband?
Well, you've seen captains drop before, haven't you? But let's face it, you won't drop Agba, so you've got no chance of dropping Totti.
Why don't we just mix it up and give Agba the captaincy, see what happens?
I don't think he'd be scared to drop him. It might be a tactic because we always sell our captain, don't we? So maybe he's trying to get rid of him at the end of the season. I don't know.
Yeah, Luke, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report. Here we go. This one made me laugh. Polcat says, is it time for the annual 4 at the back conversation? Oh, yes, it's got to be. Now, this is a great question, and it's not even tongue-in-cheek now. Wolves need to do something different. We've seen tiny spells in games, like opening at Newcastle, the goal against Leeds. Didn't really see anything against Man City. Didn't really see anything at Bournemouth. So we saw a little bit against West Ham. Whatever it is, isn't working. There doesn't seem to be any chemistry, any harmony. There's no identity. I don't know what the philosophy is. It's just not working. So for me, is it worth trying a back 4 tomorrow? Mix it up a little bit. What we got to lose? Granted, people say I want a cup run. I'd love a cup run. But things need to change. We need to mix it up a little bit because we don't look a particularly great threat going forward. We've got 5 at the back and we still can't defend. So something's got to change, Knocker.
I think it's twofold, isn't it? Do I think we should do it? Yeah, I'm not against it. I think we need to try something different. Is it the definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over again and thinking you'll get a different result? So I'm not against making that change. I don't think there's a cat in hell's chance he'll actually do it, though. He'll stick with the 3 because that's what he's comfortable with. But I think if you played a 4, I still think the 4-2-3-1 is something I'd like to see with Wolves, with Arias, Fer Lopez, and another. Maybe you could even play Strand Larsen just slightly off Tolu and just give you a little bit of dynamism around that area. So 4-2-3-1 is one that I'd consider looking at. But I don't see him doing it anytime soon. I think we can't defend with 3, so I'm not sure he'll risk it with 2. Although I think it's a genuine option for us going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, Polka, and there is no better time to try it than tomorrow. I mean,
Absolutely.
you take a free hit, but anyone that's going like you, I can't face it tomorrow, Nocky, I've got to be honest. But anyone that's going like you tomorrow, you want to see your team have a crack at it. And you're not going to mind, though, are you? It's like they did switch it to a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2. You're not going to mind, are you, tomorrow? Have a go.
No, but I think if we were to play 4 at the back and then we win the game tomorrow, I still don't think he'll be brave enough to go to Spurs with 2 centre halves against their attacking lineup. I just don't think he'll do it. So I'd like to see it, but it's going to be 3 at the back, and it's going to be 3 at the back against Spurs as well.
Yeah, there's a good chance, but hopefully.
But yeah, I'm not against it at all.
Well, hopefully we're in for a surprise. Polkat, thank you for your question and being part of the Wolves report. I've lost my questions. There they are. Here we go. Mr. Sulky Pants asks, were we fortunate to beat Leeds on Saturday? Well, statistically speaking, yeah, if you look at the numbers like I do, you would say, well, score 3 goals from 0.49. You would say that's fortunate, but a very average team beat a terrible team. That would be my fair answer. But Wolves massively underperformed. I don't think Leeds played particularly well, but I don't think they had to. They scored a brilliant goal. There's 2 stupid mistakes, and they took advantage. So were they fortunate? I think they were gifted a game, to be honest. Absolutely gifted. Thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report, Mr. Sulky Pants. I
know what you've done there, so I don't like it.
I can't possibly. Children. Zaphod 5, given Jeff's long history of firing people for his own misjudgments, how long do you think you give Dominic Tetti? Sacking Vitor seemingly isn't an option.
That's a fantastically worded question as well, for his own misjudgments.
Well, Mr. Untouchable. Now, so I've read this question earlier on. It's a great question from Zaphod 5. If you take a step a bit further back, yeah, and we're seeing all these players linked in the summer, and we can't get it over the line, or this can't happen, or that can't happen. There's a couple of reasons for that. So obviously we're on a bit of a downward curve, but if you look at the negativity around the club, look at the way the chairman, the executive chairman, is portraying the club, telling fans to sort of down your ambition, right? Telling everyone how brilliant he is and what he's done and how he had to step in to save the football side of things because he couldn't step back. Look at the inconsistent message. He said on a podcast that our most successful manager in the last 45 years was Lucky. It's not really giving me appeal to join this football club because it seems absolutely bonkers. So for me, this is on Jeff. Domenico, I mean, he's come in and some of these will be his signings, but you can't make somebody join a football club. You can't force them. You can only get what's out there. And to make the club attractive, that's down to the people that are running the football club, not Domenico. What can he do? He can identify all the best players, Nocky, but if they don't want to come, what's he supposed to do?
Why do we think Tetty's vulnerable? Because when Jeff Shee was interviewed, he said that he thought we'd had a good transfer window and he'd like to see us back in Europe. So I don't see why anyone would consider Tetty to be in trouble. I think the reality is, yes, he's coming in and he's had a specific job to do. But he's given a budget, isn't he? He's given an amount of money he can spend, and he's given a target for wages. So we could have gone and bought 12, 13 players, but they're all going to be Championship League One players. So you've got to bring in players who are actually going to affect you. The level we were looking at was maybe a Josh Brownhill, but he didn't think that was any better than what we had. So what's the point in signing him? So I don't
Well, 100 grand a week. I'm not paying Josh Brown 100 grand a week.
Well, I've not seen much from Tete, but the guy's working on a budget, isn't he? He's going to be told what he's allowed to spend, so it's very hard to judge him. I think it all sits with the man above him who's pulling the strings, and we know that there's a common denominator when it comes to that area of Wolves.
Wonderful phrase, Nocky. Wonderful phrase. But you've got to look as well. Look at, why did Lopetegui leave?
Yeah.
What did Bruno Lage say he wasn't back in January and what he could have pushed for?
Why does everyone fail?
We didn't have enough players. Nuno even said I didn't get enough players. This manager didn't get the players. I mean, it's almost a fantasy in modern football to want all your players in position for pre-season. It very rarely happens. It certainly doesn't happen at Wolves. So,
but except for Nuno, why does everyone fail in the second season? Because O'Neill failed in his second season, really. You've got Lopetegui, didn't even start the second season. You've got Vitor Pereira. There's a manager will come in, and Pereira would have come in and he'd have thought, right, I've saved them. They're going to give me more now to try and kick on. He would have accepted he was losing Cunha because that was out of the club's hands, if we're being totally honest, because he wanted to go and you're in a position where you've got to go. But he would have expected quality replacements to come in. And now when if you're a manager looking at that squad and you've seen that it's been utterly decimated, but you're Jeff Shee's there telling you that you've had a good window and Europe's the dream. Where do you go for that? Because clearly you've done so much damage to your squad. You brought in substandard replacements, so it's all right looking at Tete. It's all right looking at Pereira, but they've got a boss, haven't they? And their boss is going to tell them what we're allowed to do and how we're going to do it. And when the boss doesn't really understand football and what the impact of these losing so many quality players in the same window, when you've done it year on year, you have to look further up the tree, I think, before you start looking at Tete.
Absolutely. Zafo, thank you for being part of the latest Wolves report. We've done the questions, but we haven't actually talked about Jeff Shee and Fosun, and that's what I sort of wanted to finish on before we talk about the next games. There's been some great questions. Again, thank you so much. There's so many. I haven't been able to go through all of them, but I did as many as I can. They are appreciated, and they're a big bit of why we do the show live. I just think it's good to get them up and interact, because in the end of the day, we're all fans and we care, and it's great to have different views and to get knocky stroppy ratings. This is what we pay our money for. But we need to talk about Jeff Shee. We need to talk about Fosun. And one of the questions that's come up, so we can link this now. I mean, I'm interested to see what people are going to say. Kev Taylor says, do we need to follow West Ham's plight and start protesting about our owners? It's a really interesting point, Knocky, because how much more as fans, whether you support them from Australia, whether you've never been, whether you go every week, whether you follow them home and away, everyone's hurting at the moment. I don't know anybody, even the most optimistic of people like me. It's a struggle. There's a problem. You've said circling the drain for a few years now. You unfortunately look like you're going to be proven right. This all points in one direction. Wolves' downfall is all, for me, down to one person. And Wolves have been going down the slippery slide for a few seasons now. And again, this isn't for me. I want to see what people respond to in the comments. Do we need to follow West Ham's plight and start protesting about our owners? Knocky.
I'm not sure we should use West Ham as a benchmark. I mean, this is the fan base that drove out the manager who won them a European trophy, who's a far better manager than what they've got. They'll protest if you put the price of pies up at West Ham. So I'm not sure we should use them as a benchmark. I think from our perspective, I think it'd fall on deaf ears. I mean, I think it was massively telling that there was such a lack of noise against Fosun and Jeff Shee against Leeds. I mean, if you'd have rolled the clock back 15 years and we'd have been in the same position, Molineux would have been absolutely horrendous when that third goal went in. But it was just almost an air of acceptance. There was maybe 2-3 minutes of chanting around Jeff Shee and Fosun, and then that was it. I think we've all just accepted what's coming, and it felt very resigned to it. I'm not sure that they'd listen or even care about protests. I think the only protest they would have any kind of impact to Fosun would be if suddenly they turn out and there's 10,000 people sat in Molineux and they're losing revenue. Unless it hurts their pocket, unless it's a financial impact to them, you can protest all you want. It's not going to make a blind bit of difference because the only thing they're interested in is the financial results. So if you want to protest, don't go. Which is really difficult to say because I can't not watch my football team. I can't walk away from it. But the only thing that's going to hurt them is if you're hurting them in their pockets. That's the only protest that they're actually going to listen to.
Will you turn up as late to Molineux as you did for the podcast?
Right. I wasn't late. I just had a wheel of death for like 10 minutes when I couldn't get it. I thought it was you, actually.
Jeff Shee was like, "We've got to stop Nocky talking. We'll have to do something." He said he sent the Wolves agency in and blocked your internet, son.
I didn't think you were on. I was just sat here watching. I thought, what's he doing? What's he up to? And then suddenly he popped up and you were on and I wasn't. So I had to do a little bit of throwing it across the floor and then it worked.
Just back to Kev's question. Regardless, protest, whatever, so something needs to happen soon, doesn't it? So
yeah, I don't think it should be at the detriment of the team because the team are trying. They're just not good enough. So I'd love to see Molineux be horrible, noisy, back in the team, and then before and after the games, then do your protests because it doesn't do any good to be doing that in the middle of a game. But saying I did expect a bit more when we were 3-1 down, to be honest. But as I said, I just feel like everyone's resigned.
Yeah, I think that there needs to be some kind of noise. Well, if people are angry enough, make noise. I'm not telling you what to do. If you don't make any noise.
What do you think they listen to?
I don't think Fosun or Jeff would like the disrespect of anything Fosun related being shown in a derogatory light. I don't think that would wash with them very well at all. I don't think any song whatsoever would be bothering anybody. But I think if there was anything like outside the ground that was derogatory towards them, like talking about business wise, I don't think that would go down particularly well.
Yeah, and I'm all right with that because I don't think when you're coming in and you're doing that sort of thing in the ground, you're going to affect the players, aren't you? And they're going through the ringer at the minute, whether they're multi-million-pound superstars or what. They're still young men who are there trying to do a job, whether they're failing or not. They are trying to do a job. So what you don't want to bring that into the stadium. I mean, if you're 3 or 4-0 down and you want to have a little song about Fosun, then fill your boots. But you don't want to be bringing those kind of protests into the ground. Outside the ground, yeah, completely agree. Because that's where you're going to get your media coverage. That's where you're going to get Fosun seeing the impact that's going on. But I still think the best protest is just to cost them money. If you're costing them money, you're not buying the shirts, you're not giving them revenue. Maybe that's something they listen to.
Absolutely. This is episode 138 of the Wolves Report with the part-time captain Mark Knock and myself, Ryan Lester. 2 games in a couple of days, Knocky. Tomorrow we're recording this on Monday evening. Tomorrow, which is Tuesday, we are playing Everton in the Cup. Everton looked pretty good when they came to Molineux. This is going to be, for me, another tough game. Moyes has said he wants silverware. He's done it with West Ham. This is going to be a hard game. I don't see Wolves can't go light to this game because, again, there'll be you and 3 other people are going to be at that game. Are going to be pretty peed off if they don't see a strong team.
I think he'd be relatively strong. I think he'd be very stupid to risk Strand Larsen because he's clearly not fit. I'd probably start Tolu because I think you need to get games for him. You've got to go relatively strong. Hopefully we see Bueno. You probably see Doherty come back in. You'll have a mix, I think. I mean, Gomez started, but Andre didn't, so maybe Andre starts tomorrow. But we've got to go relatively strong and try and... I mean, the last thing you want to do is get pumped 3-0 at home by Everton and you're out of the cup as well. That's the last thing that Vitor wants at the minute. So I think you'll go relatively strong, but I don't think there'll be wholesale changes and I don't think there'll be a massive change in shape either.
Interesting stuff. Moving on to Saturday. I mean, just go back just briefly for Tuesday. Just want Wolves to go for it. If they go out the cup, fine, but just have a go. Let's get Arias playing on the right in his natural position. Let's just have a proper go at things. Let's get some attacking players in there. Go toe to toe and try and get through because it was just a surrender. It was a surrender for the middle part of the game at Newcastle. It was a surrender for the second half against Leeds. He didn't turn up at Bournemouth. We all know what happened against Man City. But yeah, just have a go. Let's give those fans who are going to go tomorrow on a wet, cold night something to cheer about. I mean, the manager owes the fans that from Saturday at the very minimum. Moving on to Saturday before I close the show for the evening. This is such a hard game, Knocker. I mean, I'm an optimistic person, but I'm struggling to see anything but a Spurs win. However, this is the football and this is the Premier League. You know what? It's very, very unlikely, but it's not impossible. You have to go there with belief. We can't be saying, it's over. There's no point, because the players will feel that. If you go in, you've got to back them and you've got to believe. One early goal, you just never know. Well, one early goal Saturday, and we knew, didn't we? but you don't know. You've got to go there. For me, I think it'll be very much like a Newcastle kind of setup again. I'm not sure it'll be the same players, but I feel it'll be that kind of 5-4-1, stink the place out, see what we can get.
Yeah, we're going to get hammered. I think. I mean, we've got a good record there, haven't we? It's been like Molineux South for the last few seasons since they moved to that ground. But I think these are a different animal under Thomas Frank. I think he's a very good manager who's made them very efficient, pretty ruthless, and they've got some good quality players. I think they were second up to yesterday, so they've got a bit about them. I just expect them to have far too much for us. I think that they've got a lot of quality in that side, and they'll keep going as well. So if we concede an early goal, it could be a really long afternoon. I agree. We go 3 midfield. We try and stink it out and maybe see if we can pinch something on the break. Maybe you play a Fer Lopez behind. Hopefully Strand Larsen's fit to start, and you try and get balls up to them. But I just don't think we'll be able to stop the flow. I think it will just keep coming back at us. Yeah,
it's going to be a tough old ask, but you know what? This is football. Wolves aren't going to keep losing every single game forever. There'll be a point, there'll be a win somewhere. Yep. Does it come Saturday?
No.
It's unlikely, but it's not impossible. Do Wolves win tomorrow night in the Cup? It's unlikely, but who knows? Nocky, let's get your predictions before we close the show this week.
I feel I've been very negative. So in terms of tomorrow, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Wolves win. Rodrigo Gomez with the opener.
Get in, I'll have some of that. And Saturday evening, 8 o'clock in London.
4-0 Spurs, Richarlison with the opener. I just can't see anything other than a collapse in that game. I just think they'll be far too good for us.
I mean, it's a good job we've been talking on the group chat about trying to be positive and find some. It's
hard when you've lost 5 in a row, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit hard. I'm going to Wolves on penalties tomorrow.
God, don't do that. I've got work in the morning.
You deserve that. After tonight, you deserve that. Wolves to win 14-13 on penalties. And Jose Sarr to score the winner. Opening goal, we'll go with Arias. Surely he starts tomorrow. He's got to start tomorrow, hasn't he?
I think Kevin Pressman played the last time we won a penalty, so I wouldn't get too excited about that.
Yeah, so he took a penalty.
Remember his penalty as well.
Wow, that was
really took the rigging up.
And on Saturday, let's go with 0-0, rock and roll. This has been episode 138 of the Wolves Report. Thank you to Mark Knock for turning up for the last 10 minutes. I've been your host, Ryan Lester, of the Wolves.